All right, the question on the smartboard is number 1 on your study guide. I just abbreviated or shortened what it asks.
I think I figured out why some days I'm just not. Yeah.
What's that?
Because apparently if she's dehydrated, you are 40% not.
That's a little bit true. Okay, so on your study guide, number 1 says classify that polynomial that's on the smartboard by degree and number of terms. And this one made me laugh a little bit because of some of the stuff I tell you. But number of terms, I was afraid this thing wouldn't work. I didn't remember to put it on the charger until just a minute ago. Maybe it's going to. Number of terms, I'll do that one first because that one's pretty straightforward. 1, 2, 3, so number of terms, it has 3, which means it's a trinomial. But the thing that made me laugh was when I went to degree, degree is your highest power, so that's 5. I thought I made that up. I thought that it didn't go higher than quartic, and I just made up quintic, but that quintic is the right choice on the test. So highest power is 5. Make sure they don't trick you. You know, they might not have put it in standard form, so don't just go to the first one. Make sure it's the highest, but the highest power is 5, so that means your degree is 5, which they're calling quintic. So that would be on your choices B, a quintic trinomial. Okay, I figure all y'all got that one right, didn't you? Good. Alrighty, let's go to numero dos. Numero dos, we've got 6x squared minus 9x cubed plus 3 over 3, and it says to write that in standard form. So standard form, since this one's got the highest power of 3, standard form, the highest power goes first, the degree goes first, and it just goes in descending order. So it would be whatever x to the 3rd, whatever x squared, whatever x, and then your constant, whatever. Okay, I just made that up, but that's so. And the other thing, other than reordering this, is it's not, this standard form is not a fraction. So we need to go ahead and simplify. All of those are divisible by that 3. So 6x squared divided by 3 would be 2x squared, negative 9x cubed divided by 3 would be negative 3x cubed, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. So that gets us a pretty good start. And I got a little grumpy at this test because I think they put that as a choice. They did. So if you bite on that one, you forgot that standard form has to go in descending order. So we need to flip-flop those two. So we're going to write negative 3x cubed plus 2x squared. You could put a 0x, but you don't have to. And then plus 1.
Yeah, it's a debate.
All right, so that's A. Now, number 3. Y'all tell me if we need to stop and talk about one, but those two were, I think y'all get. Number 3 says find the zeros of y equals x times x minus 3 times x minus 2, and then graph the equation. This is what we did Tuesday. Now, what is nice and friendly and short about this is it's already telling you the zeros. You've got 3 factors there, set each of those factors equal to 0. So take this first one, x equals 0. Take the second one, that one's solved. Take the second one, x minus 3 equals 0, and that means x equals 3. And then the last one, x minus 2 equals 0, means x equals 2. So we have zeros at 0, 2, if I put them in numerical order, and 3. So that means on our graph, we're going to cross here at 0, we're going to cross here at 2, and we're going to cross here at 3. Okay, pretty sure that gives you enough to find the answer, doesn't it? Choice A, look on A, they said the zeros are 3, 2, negative 3, though that's wrong, so mark that out. Yeah. Choice B says there's 0, negative 3, and negative 2, well that's wrong, mark that out. Choice C, they left the 0 off, so mark it out. Choice D's got it. Okay, everybody good on the first page? Know how to do all those on the test tomorrow? All right, page 2. Number 4. We got f of x is equal to x plus 3 squared times x minus 5 to the 6th. Okay, it says find the zeros and state the multiplicity. Okay, I had people asking on this about long division, synthetic division, and I said neither division. It's already giving you the zeros. When they're in factored form like that, you don't have to do any work. So you take this, x plus 3 equals 0, and that means you have a 0 at -3, and the multiplicity is whatever the power is. So this would have a 0 at -3 with a multiplicity of 2. Okay, then if you do the same thing over here, x minus 5 equals 0, and you add your 5, you would have x equals 5, and look at its multiplicity, 6 times. That's craziness. That would almost look flat on the graph if it stayed there 6 times. So be careful when you read through those choices because they scramble them up to try to trick you. Like choice A says 2 with the multiplicity of -3. So they got it backwards on that one, right? Choice B says -3 with the multiplicity of 2. So far, so good. But then it says 6 with the multiplicity of 5. They scrambled up that piece, so mark it out. Choice C says -3 with the multiplicity of 2. We've got that. And then it says 5 with the multiplicity of 6. So we've got that. So choice C would be correctamundo. All right. Number 5. We're actually going to divide on this one. And when I worked through this, and I'm working through it again now, I did not do long division any. So those of y'all that were worried and scared about long division, you don't have to do it. So this I'm going to do synthetic division. I've got a 3x cubed, row number 5, a -3x squared, a -4x, and a +3. And it says to divide that by x plus 3. So when they give me the factor, I have to set it equal to 0 and solve. And that's what I'll put outside my box. Okay, so we drop our first 3. Now we do multiply. So 3 times -3 is -9. And then I add. -3 and -9 is -12. -12 times -3 is 36. I add. -4 and 36 is 32. 32 times -3 is -96. And I add and get -93. So I know this has a remainder of -93. So when you write your answer, you write, well, they didn't even write it right. Look at the choices. It started as an x cubed, so this is a 3x squared minus 12x plus 32. And then I taught you that we write our remainder over what we divided by. So we wrote it like that in class. They took the baby way out and just wrote a capital R with a -93. See that on choice B? That's so dumb. We're smarter than this test.
We shouldn't even say.
Oh, let's just all make an A instead.
Let's pretend I got it.
You didn't get it right?
Well, I forgot. Well, the whole time I wasn't doing the -3.
Oh, okay. Well, don't forget that's pretty big, so don't forget that.
Yeah, I got 45.
Now, that's going to screw it up because on number 6, we're not going to change the sign on what we put outside. Okay, number 6 is synthetic division again, but it says just to evaluate P of 2, that's not a factor. There's no plus or minus anything in that, so we don't do any change into that. We just put a 2 outside. Okay, and then inside we've got a 1x to the 4th, a 3x cubed, a -6x squared, a -10x, and an 8. Now the directions say use synthetic division to find P of 2 for that. So they're actually what we're looking for. Our answer will be what we get in the remainder spot. Okay, and there's actually a way to do it without synthetic division. You could have just went to the equation and everywhere there's an x, you could plug a 2 in and do that math. I think the synthetic division is just as easy to do that, but either one would work. So we're going to drop our 1. 1 times 2 is 2. Add. 3 plus 2 is 5. Multiply. 5 times 2 is 10. Add. -6 plus 10 is 4. Multiply. 4 times 2 is 8. Add. -10 plus 8 is -2. Multiply. -2 times 2 is -4. add 8 and negative 4 is 4. So that would be our answer. So P of 2 would equal 4, which was choice C, as in cowabunga. All right, let's pause and is there anything out of those first 6 that we need to spend more time on, or that you don't think you feel good about? Okay, let's hit then. 7 kind of was stuck in the middle of nowhere, so it didn't really give you any directions for it. But this is a quadratic, and we know how to attack quadratics. First thing we would need to do is put it in standard form, so I could move that 6x over. So tell me if this would be how to rewrite it. X squared minus 6x plus 9 is equal to 0. Isn't that the same thing? I just subtracted 6x from both sides and put it in standard form. Y'all okay? Holly, you're in deep thought there. You good? Okay. So now I could do, to try to solve this, I could do a times c, get my factors of 9 that add to negative 6, or I could do the quadratic formula. Either one would work. I'm just going to use my factors real fast. Now all I got to do is set them equal to 0 and solve, but since it's the same factor, I know what the answer is going to be, right? We got x is 3, which is A. I told you to show your work so we could check it out. You didn't write down any work?
I think I do.
Oh, but now you know how, right? Right? Are you done? Are you going to write any of this? Are you done? Oh, that kid, he cracks me up. Okay, we get a sip of coffee. Okay. Number 8. We've got, I don't know if I pushed the right button or not. We've got x cubed plus 216. The directions for number 8 say to factor the expression. So anytime we're told to factor, the first thing you look for is a GCF other than 1, and there's not one. So then you start looking to see if it's any of the special shortcuts that we know. So x cube's a perfect cube, and there's a plus sign, so I might be dealing with sum of cubes here. So I would check and see if 216 is a perfect cube. Okay, the cube root button on your calculator, to check that if you don't know, you hit math and go down to number 4, and then you can type that in, and if you get a whole number, it's a perfect cube. But 216 is a perfect cube. 6 cubed, 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. So the cube root of x cubed is x. The cube root of 216 is 6. So I'm just going to plug an x in for A and a 6 in for B on the sum of cubes pattern that we wrote down. So it starts with A plus B, and then it's got A squared, so I square that x, minus A times B, so I multiply my x and 6, and then plus B squared, so I square my 6, and that's it. Which looks like B. You just got to be careful with the signs, because A, B, and C, they all just move some signs around. All right, number 9. It's the first one that I had to do a little bit of work on. Number 9 says find the rational roots. So it's a 4th power. So this just means solve, find the zeros, all that stuff. When we started with synthetic division, when it was a power higher than 2. So I'm going to have a 1x to the 4th, an 8x cubed, a 7x squared, a negative 40x, and a constant of negative 60. Now, They did not give us a 0 to start with, kind of. But in the problem, they did not. So when we did this in class, we took the factors of our constant, so we would list all the factors of 60 and put it over the factors of our leading coefficient, which at least it's 1, so there's no fractions. So we would be looking at 1, 60, 2, 30, 4, 15, 5, 12, 6, 10. But we don't have to write all those down and go through it because we've got choices. So you can be a smart picker by using your choices, and they all revolve around 2 and 6, positive or negative. So you just need to decide, okay, should I try a 2 or a negative 2? Either one, you're going to eliminate some choices, because if the 2 works, then you'll circle the ones that have the 2. If the negative 2 works, you'll circle one. So what do you want to try first here? You want to try the 1 or, oh, Holly said 2. So I'm going to put my 2. 1 times 2 is 2. I add and get 10. 10 times 2 is 20. I add and get 27. 27 times 2 is 54. I add and get 14. Is that right? 14 times 2 is 28. So I don't get a 0. So 2 does not work, which that's okay. That means we can eliminate choice A, C, and D. There's only one left.
Why are we eliminating C?
Oh, it's a negative. I drew a line through it and I couldn't see it. My bad. So my bad. There is a little more work to do. We're down to B and C. So the difference in B and C is the positive 6 or the negative 6. So let me get my baby eraser and erase this, and I'll let you decide if you want to try positive 6 or negative 6.
Negative.
Okay, both of the fellas said negative 6. Okie dokie artichoke. 1 times negative 6 is negative 6. I add and get 2. 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. I add and get negative 5. Negative 5 times negative 6 is positive 30. I add and get negative 10. And negative 10 times negative 6 is a positive 60. I add and get 0. So negative 6 has to be it. So that has to be, make sure I don't read it wrong again, has to be B, right? Right? So now, we could have written down all of our factors of 60 and started going that way, and we would have gotten it right eventually. But just using the choices, that saves you a lot of time and work, doesn't it?
It's B.
Yes, B is in Boomland. Okay, 10 and 11, we're going to do similar, do the same thing. It says find the roots. That just means solve again. So I'm going to set up 10 in synthetic division. I got a 2x cubed, a 2x squared, a negative 19x, and a positive 20. So the factors of 20, 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, 20, over the factors of 2, 1 and 2. That would tell me the numbers in the bucket, and I could write all them out and do that. But it would save me some time again if I tried the choices they gave me. Now, it's only the real numbers, it's only either 4 or negative 4, right? Okay, so which one do you want to try? You like 4 or negative 4?
4.
Okay, let's try 4. 2 times 4 is 8. I add and get 10. 10 times 4 is 40. I add and get 21. Is that right? But whatever, if I'm right, or when I'm going to talk about 4, I'm not going to get negative 20. So 4 is wrong, so it's got to be negative 4. Now, here's where we got a little bit of bad news this time. We got to go ahead and do the negative 4, because we got to see which one of those imaginary solutions are going to be right. So we need to get a quadratic down here that we can do the quadratic formula on. So let's plug our negative 4 in. So 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. 2 and negative 8 is negative 6. Negative 6 times negative 4 is 24. Negative 19 and 24 is 5. And 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. So we got our 0. Now, I know I'm not going to be able to factor this because look at the other answers that are going to go with negative 4. They got i's in them. So I need to go ahead and write this as my quadratic. 2x squared minus 6x plus 5 is equal to 0. And I'm going to do the quadratic formula with an a of 2, a b of negative 6, and a c of 5. So, x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, that makes 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 5 is 40. So underneath the radical, you've got 36 minus 40. Okay, that's negative, that's negative 4. Come on, scroller. So x equals 6 plus or minus the square root of negative 4 all over 4. What is the square root of negative 4? To what? Oh. I. Anytime you take square root of a negative, it's an I.
The negative thing, negative.
So 6 plus or minus 2I all over 4. And then the last thing we can do is reduce it all. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 1I all over 2. Okay, so we got a negative 4 earlier, so we knew it had to be either A or C. So do you know, can you tell now which one it is? They wrote it out twice. I used the plus minus sign, but my 3 is positive, isn't it? So it's got to be A. A is in the grade y'all are going to make tomorrow. Look, you got 13. You finish it.
Wait, 13, I thought it was 15.
Well, 2 of them I'm not going to count wrong. Right. You get two free rights.
Sweet.
Okay. Si, senor.
I do. I'm just
Sometimes.
I'm thinking about it.
It's okay. All right. So we're looking at 13. It's 12 now. 11. 11, right? I tried to skip 2 of them. Looking at 11 now. Same thing. Find the roots. So I'm going to set up my synthetic division. I've got a 1x to the 4th, a negative 5x cubed, an 11x squared, a negative 25x, and a constant of 30. Okay, we could write out all our factors of 30. 1, 30, 2, 15, 3, 10, 5, 6. Or we could look at the choices. The choices, they've used the 2 and the 3, positive, negative. So just decide what do you want to try first. You want to try a positive 2 or a negative 2 or a positive 3 or a negative 3? Anybody got a preference? 2? Okay, got to start with something, so might as well. If we get a 0 in the remainder, we'll be on the right road. If not, we'll kick that out and try something else. So 1 times 2 is 2. Negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. 11 plus negative 6 is negative 5. Negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. Negative 25 and negative 10 is negative 35. When you multiply that, that gets you negative 70. So we don't get a 0. So it can't be 2. So let me erase.
How is it that we get the options?
Say that again, sir? Yeah, we looked through the multiple choice choices. So 2 didn't work, so we can mark out B.
A and B.
I'm looking looking at my paper and I got 2 to work. What did I do wrong? Because y'all were just following me. Let me do that again. 2 worked on my paper, whatever day we got this on. 1 times 2 is 2. I add and get -3. -3 times 2 is -6. I add and get 5.
Yeah.
5 times 2 is 10, but I'm trying to remember now what I did wrong.
I think you put -5.
Oh, -25 and 10 is -15, and -15 times 2 is -30. So y'all were right, 2 works, so don't mark out 2. 2 works, good job. So, sorry about that. That means we can mark out A or C. So on B and D, B's got a -3, D's got a +3. This started off as a 4th power, so we are just now to the 3rd power. So we're going to use those numbers and try either the 3 or the -3. Anybody feeling lucky? 3. Okay, so if the 3 gets us a 0, then we know it's got to be D. But if the 3 doesn't get us a 0, it's got to be B. So we're going to get the right answer either way. So drop our 1. 1 times 3 is 3. I add and get 0. 0 times 3 is 0. I add and get 5. 5 times 3 is 15. I add and get 0. So it's got to have a +2. It's got to have a +3. So it's got to be D. I don't even have to do the quadratic formula and go get that I answer, do I? Good news. That saves you time, Christian. That's what you want. All right. 12 looks confusing, but it's really one of the easiest ones. We're all going to get it right. It says we have a polynomial equation that has roots at 5 plus the square root of 1 and 4 minus the square root of 7. So we've got one of those functions like we've been solving, and those are 2 of the answers. It asks us to find 2 other answers, and we don't even know anything. What are you in guesses? Can you look at the choices and guess? First off, this is dumb. I would never write this because I know what the square root of 1 is. But anyway, that's beside the point that they used a dumb example. What happens every time you take the square root of a number? What 2 answers can you have? Positive, negative. So if we can have 5 plus the square root, that means we can also have 5 minus the square root. So if we can have 4 minus the square root, we can also have 4 plus a square root. So let's see if we can find the choice that's got those. I'm thinking B. No. Yeah? Yeah? 5 minus square root of 1, 4 plus. Yep, B it is. Boom, lamb. All right, so number 13. Do what?
I didn't read the question.
I told you it's tricky, but it's easy once we understood. 13 is the last thing we learned how to do. And when we did it in class, I gave you a square root to work with. This time it's an I. But it's the same thing. They're giving us an answer. They say we got a root, which means an answer, a 0, a solution at -5. And then we have one at 6 plus I. I know y'all don't remember from day to day very long, but when we did it in class, I gave you that had like 6 plus the square root of 3, and I told you that there was an invisible answer. If you can have a positive square root of 3, just like on the previous question, you can also have a negative square root of 3, right? Where does an I come from? How do you get an I in your answer? You take the square root of a negative. So if I can have a positive I square rooted to get that, so I could also have a negative I. So that's the first thing we need to do is write that hidden answer that we got. If we have 6 plus I, we have to have 6 minus I.
Would you just get regular? What is the negative?
Well, like, to get the square root of -1 is positive or negative I. So this could have been 6 plus the square root of -1. And then you'd have 6 plus I, 6 minus I. Just writing it out twice instead of using a plus minus sign. Okay, now when we did this, the question asked us to write the polynomial function. So we're wanting to end up with something that looks like the ones that we've been solving. So the first thing we did when we did this in class Tuesday was write these as factors. So if you get an answer of -5, it had to come from the factor of x plus 5. Remember that? So these are going to look funny in the beginning because I'm going to say x minus that whole quantity. And the same thing here, x minus that whole quantity. Did I do too many parentheses? Maybe, but it's okay. All right, so we know in none of these that we've worked with has I been in the original function, just like we said on Tuesday. So I'm going to start multiplying these two ugly ones together first to see if the i's will cancel out, and I bet you they're gonna. Then whatever we get after we multiply these two, we'll distribute the x and the 5 to it. Okay, so here we go. X times x gets me an x squared. And then I'm going to distribute the x to both of the things in here. So I've got a minus 6x and a minus xi. And I don't know what xi is, but that's okay. Just an x times an I, right? Okay. Just making sure I'm getting it all written right. Okay, now I'm going to take, I've distributed the x to both of those, so now I'm going to distribute this quantity to both of those. So that's going to give me, this has got a minus in front of it again, so I'm going to have another minus 6x. But the x has to go to that I also. I should have had a plus xi somewhere. Where did I?
Would it not be the I with the x for the right side?
Yes, because right here you have a negative and a negative. You're correct, good job. So this one will be a plus xi. And then here we would have a minus xi. Okay. Now, I need to go this whole thing to that whole thing. I need to quit trying to look at my notes and just work it again, but I want, let's clean this up first. Is that okay? An xi and a negative xi, they cancel. And then a negative 6x and a negative 6x is going to be negative 12x. But we still have not multiplied our last parts yet. Okay, both of them have a minus sign in front of the quantity, so that negative times the negative, that's just going to cancel out to a positive, so no biggie on that. So I'm going to write this in a new color over here. So I'm going to have a 6 plus I times a 6 minus I. So that'll be 36 minus 6i plus 6i, and then minus I squared. Okay, so plus 6i and minus 6i cancels out. So 36 minus I squared, and I squared is negative 1. Okay? So this ugly hunk is the same as this. Well, I didn't know it. I had to do all that work to
Why
get it.
didn't they just write
I don't know, because that'd have been, you're smarter than that. Now I gotta bring down the x plus 5 and multiply it times my new trinomial. Okay, so you're almost there. Don't have any ugly eyes to worry about. So I'm gonna take the x to all of them. Gets me an x cubed minus a 12x squared plus a 37x. Now I gotta take the 5 to all of them, and I'm gonna stack up my like terms as I go. So I got a 5x squared. That's a negative 60x. And plus 37 times 5 is 185. So I got x cubed. Negative 12 and 5 gives me negative 7x squared. 37 and negative 60 gives me negative 23x, good job, and plus 185. My one got crooked. So that'd be it. I didn't check to see if we had an answer that said that yet. A is in the awesome grade y'all are gonna make tomorrow? Yes. Okay, so 14 and 15 are the ones that I'm not gonna count wrong no matter what. What they involve is something called Descartes' rule of signs, and I don't do Descartes' rule of signs. It's not something that's on the ACT. It's not something we have to do. All that their Descartes' rule of signs teaches you is you can figure out how many real answers, how many imaginary answers. But we spend enough time solving them, we all be able to just look at our answer and say that one's real because it don't have an eye. That one's imaginary because it has an eye. So I don't make you go and memorize Descartes' rule of signs. So you won't have to do, I mean, you can guess, you can leave them blank, I'm gonna count them right no matter what. Okay, so any of that we need to look at again. I think you're gonna be better off than you thought. Do you feel better now than you did when we saw it first? Alright, so let me tell you about this, because this is gonna be crazy. I had to go to my first Algebra 2 class, so I had quantitative literacy last period. I have a meeting tomorrow. So I'll be locked away in a meeting place. But you're still gonna do the test. I mean, y'all know from the first test, I don't help you anyway, so it's not that big a deal. It'd be just like if we had to have a virtual day, you're still gonna do the test. I put with it Google form, so as I'm sitting in my meeting, I can cheat and grade them real fast. Because, you know, I'm like y'all, I don't always pay attention. So I'll be able to get them graded real fast and get them done that way. Now, here's the only thing that I'm not sure about. I have known about the meeting for a week and a half, so I put in for the sub a long time ago. But because all the other schools have been having sick people, they've been short on subs. Y'all know y'all have had classes where y'all have had to go to the library and all that stuff. If they send you somewhere tomorrow because they can't find a sub, you still have to do the test. Okay? So they send you to the library, if they send you to Mr. White's room, if they send you somewhere, you've got the calculator on your computer, you've got your study guide, you can use your notes, and I'm putting that in my sub notes that they can use their notes. So you still have to do the test. Okay? Everybody clear on that? So we didn't have a sub, we didn't do anything. Your final grade for the 9 weeks will be a 0 test grade. Everybody got it? All right. Y'all are gonna do good though. Y'all are gonna make an A.